I'm pleased to say I'm joined by the former Women's Series finalist, Kim Holden. Thanks for the time, Kim. How are you doing?
Thank you, Alex. Yeah, I'm doing good, thank you. Yourself?
Doing good, thank you. And it's great to have you on. We're talking only a few days before you're going to be in Milton Keynes for the second weekend of the Women's Series for this year. How are you feeling now ahead of getting back playing on the Women's Series circuit again?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. Putting some time in on the board, trying to get my preparation right. Unfortunately, I have had to take a bit of time out due to injury from the previous Women's Series. I think throwing that many darts, I don't think my arm's ever done that before. People don't realise, unless they've done it, the strain that it can put you under. So I've had to go to a clinic and have some electric shock therapy and acupuncture. So I'll have to take my arm up this weekend, and I hope that it stays at bay and allows me to, just concentrate on throwing my darts.
Let's hope so. Well, we'll come on to your recent success on the Women's Series a little later on. You made a final, a semi-final on the first weekend back in February, and I went back and read your post on Facebook after that weekend. You mentioned about how you first got into darts in the first place, and it's a lovely story involving your dad. Do you mind sharing it with our listeners?
No, absolutely, yeah, no, I don't mind. Went to a little local called the Sportsman's on the Wirral. I was basically awaiting to go and have hip surgery from my time in the military, and I needed to get out of the house, so we were supposed to be going to play some pool, and then my dad said, well, we'll play some darts, and I said, I'm not throwing them things, and he said, oh, come on, if I beat you at pool, we'll play. He ended up beating me at pool, so we ended up having a game of darts, and I think I took out 111 check out with his own darts, and he said, oh, you can play. I had no idea I could play, to be quite honest with you. I've always played football and basketball, so yeah, it came from that really. And then he encouraged me, taught me the board, got me into a charity league on the Wirral. Then I started playing on a Monday for my dad. He was the captain. He told me when I was ready because it was a men's league, and then it kind of escalated from there really.
And as you say, darts wasn't your first sport. You did basketball. I saw you were quite into your football as well, and away from sport you were in the army for 16 years. So the football, was that during your time in the army?
No, it wasn't. I started playing football when I was 8 years of age, for Tranmere Rovers Football Club on the Wirral, where I stayed with Tranmere for a long time. I moved up into the women's team when I was 14, and I got selected to play for England. So I went on to play football for England, under 19 squad, where I went and played in a World Cup, 2 European Championships with a total of, I think it was 33 appearances. So I travelled the world playing sport from a young age.
Brilliant. Great career. Well, let's get on to your next sport then that you've got into with the darts, and you claimed your first win, beating your dad, and you mentioned there you started to play in some leagues after that. Did you get the bug straight away after that point?
Well, it was. I wouldn't say I got the bug straight away, because I couldn't keep 3 straight darts. So it was 26, it was 7, and I said to my dad, oh, this is doing my head in, because I used to be, quite a good footballer, not to blow my own trumpet, at a level, and it was something that I couldn't first grasp, and I certainly wasn't born with the talents that I feel like I was born with football, like a natural ability. I've had to work extremely hard. I say this to my friends at county. I was probably throwing 40 averages when I first started playing, and they say, oh, you're so talented, and I say no, especially to the young girls coming in. I say, oh, I'm not talented. I've really, really worked hard. I've put the time in. I've been disciplined, and yeah, just literally just worked really, really hard to creep up into them 70 averages.
Yeah, we can definitely see that the hard work is paying off. You are progressing your game. And at what point then on this journey do you decide to give the PDC Women's Series a go? Was there one particular event or moment that gave you that push to want to test yourself in that setting as well?
I think soon as it popped up, PDC was putting the women's series on, I was like, 100% want to be doing that. I'd watched all of the big names on the TV because I am a massive watcher of darts, the men's and the women's, and I used to watch the Lakeside, and I'd be like, right, okay, I want to do that. I watched Eileen de Graaf, Casey Hutchinson, a lot more of the girls, but in particular, the games that I seen were very, very high standard at the Lakeside, and I was like, oh, I want to do that, and I could beat them. that was like, I could get there, that was the standard, and I was like, right, as soon as you get there, push over the line. But there's obviously, a massive amount of ladies out there now. The game's going so big. There's a lot of really high caliber dart players, and I just really wanted to push myself in that direction. So it was kind of like a goal straight away. Oh, I want to beat you, I want to beat you, and I want to beat you. And that's what I've used as a focus. And then when I seen the PDC Women's Series come up, and I seen these girls' names down for going, or I'd heard that they were going, I was like, yeah, I really want to do that. I want to mix it with the best in the world.
And looking back at last year, your first year on the Women's Series, it's fair to say you could see your results. They were improving as the year went on. You were making last 32s, and then that last weekend you had a couple of last 16s. Did you feel like your game was really benefiting from playing those weekends?
Yes, massively it was. But I think for me, putting this time in with my practice partner throughout the week, we do 4 at best of 7, and we can play 4 or 5 games in one session. And I was just clocking the averages, and I was saying to myself, right, okay, if you do that next weekend, somebody's going to be in trouble, because I was throwing some good darts, and I think particularly, I missed tops to beat Lorraine, win Stanley at the end of last year, and that really, it bugged me that I'd missed it, but I knew I was capable of them beating such a high caliber player like Lorraine.
Well, let's get on to this year and the first weekend of the Women's Series in February, and it was a memorable one for you. The second event on the Saturday, you mentioned about beating the top names. You beat Eileen de Graaf in the early rounds, and you're soon in the quarterfinals for the first time, then the semi-finals for the first time. What was that event like as you're making those big strides?
I can't really remember, I'm going to be honest. I knew I was putting some good darts in. I'd threw a 29 average on the Friday prior to driving down, travelling down. I was beating my practice partner all week. In the back of my mind, I was saying to myself, you take this with you. I wrote down next to my computer some goals. My goals were to reach a final, reach a semi-final, and to reach a last 16. And I'd forgot that I'd even wrote them down because I was feeling that confidence. And I think if you're feeling that confident because your darts are going, I think it really helps. Certainly when the names come up, Eileen de Graaf, who had beat me before, I really like to play Eileen de Graaf. She's an incredible dart player, and the pace suits me as well. And when I beat Eileen, I thought, right, okay, who's next? On to the next. And that's not being big-headed. That was just because I felt good. I felt really good. I felt like I couldn't miss. And then I can't even remember who else I played. You'll be able to tell me now.
Well, one game that I'm sure you won't forget is that first semi-final. You're up against one of the all-time greats in the ladies' game, Lisa Ashton, and you had a 1-3-6 finish in the first leg. Did that settle any nerves you might have had taking out a shot like that so early on?
Yeah, Lisa's a legend, isn't she? I've been watching Lisa for years on the TV, and I always support Lisa, especially when she's playing against the men and wanting her to really do well. Yeah, I think it did, but I wasn't as nervous as what I was the year before. The year before I crumbled on the stream, and I really worked on that. And I just tried to remember that I'm the underdog, and Lisa's the, you know, four. I think she won 4 world championships. Yeah, I'm the underdog. So I tried to remember that, and when I hit the 136, I thought, okay, they're going. You're settled. Let's keep going. And then I remember taking the 95 out on the next one, and the game was going quite quick. And then Lisa, being the legend she is, you know, came up, and I thought, oh, there we go. Kim, you need to really zone in again now and zone into your own game, and they'll go. And luckily, they did. I had first throw as well. The darts were mine on the last leg, so I think that helped massively for me.
Yeah, it's a great win, goes all the way. You win it in a decider 5-4 to make the final, where Bo Greaves, as she very often does, comes out on top. But after that, on the Sunday, you go out early in the first event, but you make up for it in the last event of the weekend to get into the semi-finals. And again, you're beating some top names. Anastasia Dobromoslova, you get that win over Lorraine Winstanley as well. So how did you reflect on the weekend as you left for home on that Sunday evening?
I didn't reflect. I didn't reflect at all. I literally, the support from the Wirral was so overwhelming. I think I had over 500 messages that I literally didn't even respond to, I don't think, until the Tuesday, Wednesday. It was all kind of surreal until I got home, had a look through my averages, had a look how I'd played, seen everyone who I'd beaten over the weekend, and I thought, wow, these were all the people that you were watching at the lakeside, you've watched on TV, and these are the people that they've inspired you to get better, and these are the girls that I've took out, and lucky enough I've managed to get over the line with them. But just a note on Bo is just she's on another level, isn't she? She's very special.
Yeah, she is the lady to beat at the moment. But on yourself, you mentioned the averages and going off of Dart Connect, where you can see a lot of the data from the weekends. Last year, you were averaging 60.88 for the year. That was 64th overall. I know we're only one weekend into this year, but your average has gone up almost 8 points, 68.74, 27th on that list. What do you put that down to? Has it been all the hours that you've been putting in on the board?
Yeah, I think it definitely has been the time on the board, but it's also getting that structure of saying what works and what doesn't work, is managing it, because I was doing too much last year. I was doing far too many hours on the board. It was becoming quite mundane. So I've reduced that now. I've got my own dart room at home. I do an hour and a half a night. I mix that up a bit. But also, I think working on my throw, I've changed my throw a lot. My dad says to me, how can you change your throw? You know, been playing for 3.5 years, I think I've been playing for now. How can you change your throw? I can't change my throw. So it's just working on things, and my elbow position, my release, and I think the focus on getting into my zone. If I get into my zone, they go, and if I don't, then they don't go. So I think for me, getting everything right, preparation is key, and certainly finding my own zone. No matter who I'm playing, whether it be Bo Greaves, you know, Fallon Sherrick, Lisa, it's finding that zone where you're comfortable in and going into yourself when you're playing. And if I find that, I do feel quite confident.
Well, it certainly looks like that. And as you said on Facebook after that weekend, darts just got serious. Those results put you in a provisional spot for the Women's World Match Play. You're 4th on the Women's Series Order of Merit for this year. So how do you try and put all that to one side and play this weekend? Or does having a goal like that focus you to push yourself as much as you can?
Well, I think it's been very frustrating for me, because after the first PDC Women's Series, I picked up an injury. I had to go to a clinic for acupuncture and electric shock therapy on my arm. I was told that I had forearm and thumb tendonitis. It was very painful, so I decided to take 4 weeks out. I was struggling to grip my darts. So it's been kind of frustrating. I haven't had the preparation of what I'd want normally. Been strapping my arm up, trying to get used to throwing with my arm strapped up. I've got to kind of put that to the back of my mind and just try, get in my zone, forget what's been going on with my arm, forget that I haven't been happy with the prep what I would have had last time, and just take one game at a time, take one dart at a time, try and find my zone, try and find my release, how I like to play darts, zone out, and then if they go, they go, and if they don't, they don't. The biggest thing for me is to just try and not get frustrated with how I played previous, because, as I say, I haven't had the same preparation going into this one as what I had in the previous one.
No, that's fair enough. Well, two more before we let you go, and you mentioned about aside from yourself playing darts, you love watching the darts as well on TV. We saw you did pretty well on the predictions on the Premier League a few weeks ago. On our show, Burton, my co-host, and I, we attempt to predict the quarterfinals, and we usually do pretty badly, so we'll give you a chance. Have you had a look at the games for tomorrow? Have you got any predictions for us?
I haven't looked at who's playing tomorrow, but if you told me them, if you had them in front of you, I could try and predict. I am normally quite lucky with the Premier League.
Let's have a look. Okay, I'll get them up for you. So we've got Gerwyn Price, Nathan Aspinall and Chris Dobie, Peter Wright. They're the first two games.
Okay, well, Price and Dobie.
And the last two we've got, these might be a bit harder. Michael van Gerwen, Michael Smith, Johnny Clayton, Dimitri Vandenberg.
Ooh, Smith and Clayton.
All right, we'll see how your predictions go. And just lastly, we mentioned the averages earlier. We know you're also chasing that first 30-plus average, one dart average, that is, so 90 average with 3 darts. How about this weekend to tick that milestone off? How good would that be?
Oh, well, I think that would really instill more belief in me, because I'm only ever doing it in practice. Nearly, the highest one was 29.78 last Tuesday in practice, so it would be huge for me, just to say I've done it, but to do it in a game, because I keep doing all of the better averages. I'm doing behind closed doors, and I'd like to show people that I have got more in the tank, because I know there is. I'd be absolutely over the moon if it was to come out, this weekend, especially on such an important weekend for me.
Definitely. Well, we've got our fingers crossed for you, Kim. Congratulations on what you've achieved already in your short time in darts, and we wish you all the best, not just for this weekend, but for what else is to come this year as well.
Oh, thank you very much.